Cavite is a province in the Philippines located on the southern shores of Manila Bay in the Calabarzon region on Luzon Island, situated just 21 kilometers south of the capital. It is one of the most industrialized and fastest-growing provinces because of its close proximity to Metro Manila. With a population of 3,678,301 in 2015, it is the most populated province in the country. For over 300 years, the province has been known as the historical capital of the Philippines, and was the cradle of the Philippine Revolution, the renouncement of Spanish colonial control, which culminated in the Philippine Declaration of Independence on June 12, 1898 in Kawit, Cavite. Geography. Cavite is surrounded by Laguna Province to the east, Metro Manila to the northeast, and Batangas Province to the south. To the west lies the West Philippine Sea. It is located within the Greater Manila area, not to be confused with adjacent Metro Manila, the defined capital region. The urban influence of the metropolis, together with easy accessibility, adequate infrastructure and comparatively fresh natural setting, makes the picturesque province an ideal refuge. Cavite is the second smallest province in the Calabarzon region. Cavite occupies land area of 1,427.06 square kilometers, which is approximately 8.72% of Calabarzon's total land area, 2.74% of the regional area and 0.48% of the total land area of the Philippines. The municipalities of Maragondon and Siling have the biggest land areas, comprising 165.49 square kilometers and 156.41 square kilometers respectively, while the municipality of Noveleta has the smallest land area as indicated by 5.41 square kilometers, or 0.38% of the provincial total land area. Topography and slope. Situated at the entrance of Manila Bay, Cavite is characterized by rolling hinterlands punctuated by hills, shoreline fronting Manila Bay at sea level, and rugged portion at the boundary with Batangas where the Dos Picos Mountains are located. The province has two mountain ranges. Cavite is divided into four physiographical areas, namely, the lowest lowland area, the central hilly area, and the upland mountainous area. The lowest lowland area is the coastal plain in particular. These areas have extremely low ground level of 0 to 2 meters elevation compared to the high tide level of about 0.8 meters from the mean sea level. These are the cities of Cavite, Bacoor, and the municipalities of Kawit, Noveleta, Rosario, northern part of Carmona and eastern part of Ternate. The lowland area consists of the coastal and alluvial plains. These areas have flat ground slope of less than 0.5% and low ground elevation of 2 to 30 meters. The alluvial plain can be found in the city of Imus and southern part of General Trias. Into these municipalities forms the transition area between the coastal plain and the central hilly area. It also covers some areas of Bacoor, Kawit, Noveleta, Rosario, Tanza and Carmona. The third topography type is the central hilly area, generally found on the mountain foot slope. It forms the rolling tufaceous plateau. This topography includes steep hills, ridges and elevated inland valley. The plateau is characterized with ground elevation ranging from 30 meters to nearly 400 meters. Its ground slope ranges from 0.5 to 2%. The city of Tres Marias and Dasmariñas and the municipalities of General Emilio Aguinaldo, General Mariano Alvarez, Indang, Maragondon, Ternate, Siling and Carmona have this kind of topography. The last topography type is upland mountainous area, found in Magallanes, Amadeo, Tagaytay, Mendez, Alfonso, southern part of Maragondon and Carmona. They are situated at a very high elevation above 400 meters with slopes of more than 2%. The Tagaytay Ridge has an average elevation of 610 meters with Mount Sungay at 14.1421 for 17 degrees north, 121.021950 degrees east, 14.1421 for 17, 121.021950. The highest elevation in the province at 716 meters. The mountain was much higher before with an elevation of 752 meters, topped by rock formations that resembled horns, hence the name. The prominence of the mountain was leveled in half during the construction of People's Park in the Sky during the Marcos administration. Islands land resources and distribution. Cavite's land resources are categorized into two: forest lands and alienable and disposable lands. Forest lands are being maintained as they play a great role for the ecological balance of the province, aside from the fact that they are home to numerous flora and fauna that needs to be protected and preserved. Correspondingly, the alienable and disposable lands of the built-up areas as well as production areas. These lands are intended for urban, economic and demographic developments. Cavite province lies in the western monsoon forest zone. This location is very beneficial for the formation of tropical rainforests, which are characteristically made through natural vegetation. In 2007, the existing forest area within the province totaled only to 8,625 hectares. These forest areas were categorized as protected landscape under the National Integrated Protected Area System and the rest, unclassified forest. A total of 4,000 hectares are located within the Mounts Pali-Pali Matas Nagulod protected landscape, a protected area in Ternate and Maragondon created by Proclamation No. 1594 on October 26, 1976. The park lies at the border of Cavite and Batangas and encompasses three peaks: Pali-Pali, Pico de Loro and Matas Nagulod. The five unclassified forests are found along Tagaytay Ridge, Maragondon, Magallanes, Ternate and Alfonso. The other mountain peaks in the province are Mount Buntis, Mount Nagpatong, Mount Halog and Mount Gonzales. Cavite's forest provides an abundance of different forest products. Bamboo, a member of the grass family, is one of the most available forest products found in the municipalities of Ternate, Magallanes, Maragondon and General Aguinaldo throughout the year. These lands are being used in various ways, either for agriculture, residences, open areas, etc. Based on the Cavite Provincial Physical Framework Plan 2005 to 2010, Cavite's alienable and disposable lands are further classified into production lands and built-up areas. Production lands in Cavite are intended for agriculture, fishery and mining. On the other hand, built-up areas are mainly for residential areas, commercial, industrial and tourism areas. Majority of production land use is for agriculture. Considering that 50.33% of the total provincial land area is engaged into agriculture, it can be generalized that in spite of rapid urbanization in the province, Cavite remains to have an agricultural economy that makes food security attainable. Some of the major crops being produced in the province are rice, corn, coffee, coconuts, cut flowers and vegetables. Included in the agricultural land use are livestock farms that range from piggery, poultry, goat and cattle farms. The climatic suitability of Cavite makes the province ideal for integrated farming, having crops and livestock raising in one farm. Fishery is also another major component of the agricultural sector. Having rich marine resources and long coastlines, the province is home to numerous fishery activities providing livelihood to many Cavitanos. In some lowland and even upland areas, fishery, in the form of fish ponds, are also producing considerable amount of fish products. Some areas in Cavite are also engaged in fish processing and production of fish products like fish sauce. Mining is the third component of production land use in the province. As of 2009, there are 15 mining and quarrying areas operating in Kawit. Extraction includes filling materials, gravel, and sand. The built-up areas are mainly composed of residential and industrial sites. This also includes commercial and business areas where commerce is transpiring. According to the 2007 Census of Population and Housing by the National Statistics Office of the Philippines, there are 611,450 occupied housing units in Cavite. Moreover, according to the Housing and Land Use Regulatory Board, there are around 1,224 housing subdivisions with issued license to sell in the province until 2009, which occupies an area of 9,471 hectares. Meanwhile, the industrial sector also develops rapidly in the province. For 2009, operational industrial estates cover around 2,939 hectares. Tourism establishments are also considered built-up areas such as golf courses, leisure farms, resorts and the likes. Water resources. The hydrological network of the province is composed of 7 major rivers and its tributaries. These river systems generally flows from the highlands of Cavite and Maragondon to Manila Bay. Numerous springs, waterfalls and rivers found in the upland areas of the province have been developed for tourism. In the lowland areas, hundreds of artesian wells and deep wells provide water supply for both residential and irrigation purposes. Cavite shoreline stretches about 123 kilometers. The community is located along the coast to Cavite City, Bacoor, Kawit, Noveleta, Rosario, Tanza, Naic, Maragondon, and Ternate. The richness of Cavite's coastal resources is a major producer of oysters and mussels. The fishing industry also produces shrimp and bangus. The western coastline aligned with of pale grey sand beaches popular with tourists. Thus, fishery and tourism contributes to the economic activity of the province. Soil properties. Cavite is composed of several soil types according to soil surveys conducted by the Bureau of Soils and Water Management. Classification of soil types in a specific area is a very important consideration in identifying its most fitted land use. This way, utmost productivity can be achieved. The lowland area of Cavite is generally composed of Guadalupe clay and clay loam. It is characterized as coarse and granular when dry but sticky and plastic when wet. Its substratum is solid volcanic tuff. These types of soils are suited to lowland rice and corn, while those in the upland are suited for orchard and pasture. Guadalupe clay adobes are abundant in the southern part of Bacoor and Imus bordering Dasmariñas. The soil is hard and compact and difficult to cultivate, that makes it generally unsuitable for diverse cropping. It is very sticky when wet and granular when dry. Forage grass is advised for this type of soil. Hydrosol and Obando sand are found along Bacoor Bay. The shoreline of Rosario, Tanza, Naic in Ternate aligned with Guadalupe sand. The central area principally consists of Magallanes loam with streaks of Magallanes clay loam of sandy texture. This is recommended for diversified farming such as the cultivation of upland rice, corn, sugarcane, vegetables, coconut, coffee, mangoes and other fruit trees. The steep face should be forested or planted to root crops. The eastern side of Cavite consists of Carmona clay loam with streaks of Carmona clay loam steep face and Carmona sandy clay loam. This type of soil is granular with tufaceous material and concretions. It is hard and compact when dry, sticky and plastic when wet. This type of soil is planted to rice with irrigation or sugarcane without irrigation. Fruit trees such as mango, avocado and citrus are also grown in this type of soil. Gingwa fine sandy loam is found along the lower part of Malabon and Alang-Ilang River at Noveleta. The type of soils that dominate the upland areas are Tagaytay loam and Tagaytay sandy loam with mountain soil undifferentiated found on the southeastern side bordering Laguna Province. Also on the southern tip are Magallanes clay and mountain soil undifferentiated with interlacing of Magallanes clay loam steep phase. The Tagaytay loam contains fine sandy materials, moderately friable, and easy to work on when moist. In an undisturbed condition, it bakes and becomes hard when dry. About one-half of this soil type is devoted to upland rice and upland crops. On the other hand, Tagaytay sandy loam is friable and granular with considerable amount of volcanic sand and underlain by adobe clay. Mountain soil undifferentiated is forested with bamboos found in the seacoast. Cavite also has the Patungan sand characterized by pale gray to almost white sand with substratum of marine conglomerates which are found at Star, Mercedes in Maragondon and in some coastlines of Ternate. Mineral resources and reserves. The greater parts of Cavite composed of volcanic materials, tuff, cinders, basalt, breccias, agglomerate and interbeddings of shales and sandstones. The dormant and active volcanoes are within these volcanic areas and have been the sources of volcanic materials which form the Tagaytay Cuesta. The drainage systems are deeply entrenched in the tuffs, eroding thin interbedded sandstones and conglomerate rocks which are the sources of little reserves of sand and gravel in the larger stream. Adobe stone quarries also flourish in the tuff areas. Cavite coastal areas have marl and conglomerate sedimentary rocks and some igneous rocks which are prominent in the high, mountainous regions of western part of the province. Black sands are found in Kawit while Noveleta has its own salt products. Magallanes has gravel deposits while reserves of sand and gravel materials are found in Alfonso, Carmona, Gen. Emilio Aguinaldo, Naic, Ternate, Maragondon and Siling. Administrative divisions. Cavite comprises 16 municipalities and 7 cities. Climate. Cavite belongs to Type 1 climate based on the climate map of the Philippines by the Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration. Being a Type 1, Cavite has 2 pronounced seasons: the dry season, which usually begins in November and ends in April, and the rainy season, which starts in May and ends in October. The Köppen climate classification subtype for this climate is TAM. History. Etymology. The name Cavite comes from the Hispanicized form of Kawit, or it may be a corruption of Kawit Tagalog words for hook, in reference to the small hook-shaped peninsula jutting out to Manila Bay. The name originally applied to the peninsula, Cavite La Punta, and the adjacent lowland coastal area of Cavite Viejo. Another theory proposes that the name is a Hispanicized form of Kawit Tagalog for joined, connected, or attached, referring to the peninsula's topographical relation to the mainland. Edmund Roberts, in his 1821 memoir, stated that the natives called it Cavite due to the crooked point of land extending into the sea. Pre-Hispanic period. The present Cavite city was once a mooring place for Chinese junks trading that came to trade with the settlements around Manila Bay. The land was formerly known as Tangway. Archaeological evidence in coastal areas show prehistorical settlements. According to local folklore, the earliest settlers of Cavite came from Sulu, Borneo. Spanish colonial period. The Spanish colonizers who arrived in the late 16th century saw the unusual tongue of land jutting out on Manila Bay and saw its deep waters as the main staging ground where they could launch the bulky galleons. It would later become the most important port linking the colony to the outside world through the Manila-Acapulco galleon trade. In 1571, Spanish colonizers established the port and city of Cavite and fortified the settlement as a first line of defense for the city of Manila. Galleons were built and fitted at the port, and many Chinese merchants settled in the communities of Bacoor and Kawit, opposite the Spanish city, to trade silks, porcelain and other oriental goods. A defensive curtained wall was constructed the length of Cavite's western side, beginning from the entrance, La Estanzuela, and continuing to the end of the peninsula, Punta de Rivera, with the eastern shore unprotected by a wall. Cavite contained government offices, churches, mission buildings, Spanish homes, Fort San Felipe and the Rivera de Cavite shipyard. Docks were in place to construct galleons and galleys, but without a dry dock, ships were repaired by careening along the beach. Fort San Felipe, La Fuerza de San Felipe, was built between 1609 and 1616. This quadrilateral structure of curtained walls, with bastions at the corners, contained 20 cannons facing the seashore. 3 infantry companies, 180 men each, plus 220 Pampangan infantry, garrisoned the fort. The galleons Espiritu Santo and San Miguel, plus 6 galleys, were constructed between 1606 and 1616. From 1729 to 1739, the main purpose of the Cavite shipyard was the construction and outfitting of the galleons for the Manila to Acapulco trade run. The vibrant mix of traders, Spanish seamen from Spain and its Latin American colonies, as well as local residents, gave rise to the use of pidgin Spanish called chabacano. In 1614, the politico-military jurisdiction of Cavite was established. As with many other provinces organized during the Spanish colonial era, Cavite City, the name of the capital, was applied to the whole province. Cavite. The province covered all the present territory except for the town of Maragondon, which used to belong to the corregimiento of Mariveles. Maragondon was ceded to Cavite in 1754 when Bataan province was created from Pampanga province. Within Maragondon is a settlement established in 1660 by Christian exiles brought in by the Jesuits from Ternate in the Maluku Islands, and named this land Ternate after the former homeland. Owing to its military importance, Cavite had been attacked by foreigners in their quest to conquer Manila and the Philippines. The Dutch made a surprise attack on the city in 1647, pounding the port incessantly, but were repulsed. In 1672, the British occupied the port during the 2-year control in the Philippines. In the 17th century, encomiendas were given in Cavite and Maragondon to Spanish conquistadors and their families. The religious orders began acquiring these lands, with some donated, enlarging vast haciendas in Cavite during the 18th and 19th century, enriching themselves. These haciendas became the source of bitter conflicts between the friar orders and Filipino farmers and pushed a number of Cavitanos to live as outlaws. This opposition to the friar orders was an important factor that drove many Cavite residents to support reform, and later, independence. In 1872, Filipinos launched the revolt against Spain. 3 Filipino priests, Jose Burgos, Mariano Gomez and Jacinto Zamora, were implicated in the Cavite mutiny when 200 Filipinos staged a rebellion within Spanish garrisons. On August 28, 1896, when the revolution against Spain broke out, Cavite became a bloody theater of war. Led by Emilio Aguinaldo, Cavitinos made lightning raids on Spanish headquarters, and soon liberated the entire province through the Battle of Alapan. Aguinaldo commanded the revolution to its successful end, the proclamation of the First Republic of the Philippines on June 12, 1898 in Kawit. During the Spanish-American War, American forces attacked the Spanish squadron in Cavite. The Spanish defeat marked the end of Spanish rule in the country. American colonial period and World War II. In 1942, the Japanese imperial forces entered Cavite, which was long the site of a major U.S. naval base serving the United States Asiatic Fleet. The military built a founding general headquarters of the Philippine Commonwealth Army was active in January 3, 1942 to June 30, 1946, and the 4th Infantry Regiment of the Philippine Constabulary was active again on October 28, 1944 to June 30, 1946, and stationed in Cavite during the Japanese occupation. From 1942 to 1945, Filipino soldiers of the 4th, 41st, 42nd, 43rd, 45th and 46th Infantry Division of the Philippine Commonwealth Army repeatedly entered the provinces in Cavite with the recognized guerrillas of the Cavite Guerrilla Forces and the Filipino-American Cavite Guerrilla Forces under Colonel Mariano Castaneda of the Philippine Constabulary to attack the occupying Japanese troops as the Filipinos attempted to recapture Cavite. After the initial conflict, insurgencies persisted in Cavite in 1944, supported by local Filipino troops of the Philippine Commonwealth Army units and Cavitino resistance. Before the liberation in Cavite in 1945 by joint U.S. and Filipino soldiers and aiding the Cavitino resistance groups was liberated the clearing province and defeats Japanese. In January to August 1945, combined Filipino and American troops along with the Cavitino guerrilla fighters liberated in Cavite from the Japanese forces begins the battle for the liberation of Cavite at the end of World War II. Demographics. Cavite had a total population of 3,678,301 in the 2015 census, making it the most populous, and the second most densely populated province in the country. The tremendous increase can be observed in the year 1990 when industrialization was introduced in the province. Investors established the businesses in different industrial estates that magnetized people to migrate to Cavite due to job opportunities the province offers. Another factor attributed to the increase of population is the mushrooming of housing subdivisions. Since Cavite is proximate to Metro Manila, people working in the metropolitan area choose to live in the province together with their families. Natural increase also contributes to the increase in population. The population density of the province based on the 2015 census was 2,300 inhabitants per square kilometer, 6,000 inhabitants per square mile. Among the cities and municipalities in Cavite, the city of Dasmariñas has the biggest population with 659,019 people, while the municipality of Gen. Emilio Aguinaldo has registered the smallest population with 22,220 people. Cavite is classified as predominantly urban, having 90.69% of the population concentrated in the urban areas, while 9.21% of the population reside in the rural areas. Religion. In line with national statistics, the majority of the population are Roman Catholic, while the strong presence of the Christian churches such as the mainline evangelical churches, Christian fellowships that accounts for 10%, and other Christian churches such such as the United Pentecostal Churches, Seventh-day Adventist and numerous oneness groups, have increased the population of the other Christian churches. Iglesia Ni Cristo account for 4% of the population and members Church of God International, while adherents of the Alipayun Church account for 20% of the total Cavite population. Languages. The main languages spoken are Tagalog, Shabacano and English. Due to the province's proximity to Metro Manila, a large number of people migrated to Cavite from farther provinces, resulting in a significant usage of Bicol, Cebuano and Ilocano. Shabacano in Cavite. Chavacano or Shabacano is a Spanish-based Creole language and known in linguistics as Philippine Creole Spanish. Shabacano is originally spoken by majority of the Cavitanos that lived in Cavite City and Ternate after the arrival of the Spaniards 3 centuries ago. The various dialects of Shabacano were formed out of necessity like all languages, though scholars and laypersons disagree about exactly when and where it all began. The various language groups working at the Cavite naval base needed a way to communicate with each other, and to the soldiers who were barking the orders in less than genteel Spanish. It was from this situation that Cavite Shabacano began as a simplified form of Spanish, a pidgin language that later developed into a mixed, or Creole language. The fact that the first Shabacanos learned the Spanish from the coarse language of soldiers is probably why they were called Shabacanos in the first place. However, some historians disagree with parts of this story and say that Shabacano did not emerge until almost a century later when Catholic Malays settled in Cavite after the Spaniards had abandoned the Spice Islands to the Dutch in 1662. These Malays, known as the Mardakas, settled in Ternate, the town named after their original homeland. They joined with many other language groups to defend Manila from yet another Chinese warlord, Coxinga, now used almost exclusively in Cavite City and coastal Ternate. Shabacano enjoyed its widest diffusion and greatest splendor in Spanish and American period of Filipino history, when newspapers and literary outputs flourished. Cavite Shabacano was spoken with relative ease because it was essentially a simplification of Castilian morphology patterned after the Tagalog syntax. Gradually and naturally, it acquired the sounds present in the Spanish phonological system. After World War II, Creole Spanish speakers within the capital of the archipelago vanished. Around 30,000 Cavitanos still speak Shabacano.